Thank you, Dork. Eric,
Give us some
for this,
gameplay.
progression information, just to prove that we are live. So we're super excited today to be able to talk about the Dungeon and Dragon chapter. I am Dave, creative director on Dead by Daylight, and I'm joined by my good friend, Yannick.
Hello, Yannick Never, principal game designer on Dead by Daylight. Today I'll be talking about all the intricacy of the gameplay on this chapter. But first, a little mention. Dead by Daylight, 8 years, introducing Dungeon & Dragon. It's a big milestone for us. But
Surely
we're not the
is.
only one
Dungeons &
hitting
Dragons is a huge
special
IP, bro.
milestone.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that Dungeon & Dragon turns 50 this year.
Good Lord.
And we are super proud and happy to be part of the celebration. We just want to say that maybe when we turn 50, we do something else with you, Wizard of the Coast. Or maybe sooner.
Yeah, we'll probably be in retired home, but we'll be glad to join the party. So first, Dungeon & Dragon in Dead by Daylight. I have to be honest here. The first time you told me about what's going to be coming next, I was surprised because I'm a big horror fan, but when you think about horror, Dungeon & Dragon is not the first thing that comes to mind.
No, it's
But
not.
thinking about it more, I realized, no, wait, there's a lot of horror in Dungeon & Dragon.
Sure.
And Ravenloft being my favorite module.
Choice.
So, like, you really specifically focus on certain element of the brand. So please tell us about those pillars.
Yeah, so when we start a chapter, we always have a sandbox created so that we stay, around some specific pillars, like you said. Of course, when we think Dungeons and Dragons, the first thing that comes to mind is a magical world, high fantasy, magical creatures, wizards, magic, all sort of things that don't necessarily fit exactly well into a horror setting.
Put it in
But
there.
because D&D is a world of imagination where we can create whatever we want, there's also a way to make it happen.
Let me
So for
cast
us, the first
Fireball
pillar
on
was to
Vecna.
make sure that we had a good
Pull out
juxtaposition
8d6.
with fantasy, so fully embracing that type of content, but make it horrific as well. And like you've seen in the trailer, having a character like Vecna made perfectly sense for that horror setting. The second pillar is creative role-playing. So in the image of Dungeon and Dragon, we wanted to make sure that players add a lot of agency, a lot of choices. So that
Do we got to
goes
roll
from,
death saving throws?
an amount of spells you can choose from in the power, which we'll talk about later, or even customization. So a way you can, kind of create your own character in some way. We just wanted to make sure that we had a lot of gameplay choices.
All these
in
creative
the
mechanics going to be paid.
And the last pillar we worked with is chaos. So that's actually one of our main pillar in Dead by Daylight. But a lot of what happens in Dungeon and Dragon is based on randomness. You throw a dice, and with critical success, critical fails, and everything in between, you see the result and you adapt to it. So we wanted to recreate that feeling inside the Dead by Daylight trials as well.
Yeah, Dungeon & Dragon is really about exploring a fantasy world, but also be thrilled about what's going to be the monster you're going to meet the next time you open a door.
So let's talk about that killer you'll meet the next time.
Yes,
you
sir.
open the
Let's see
door.
Vecna.
So of course,
want
Dungeons
some
and Dragons
gameplay.
has a lot of iconic monsters we could have chosen from, a lot of iconic villains as well. And with our friends at Wizard of the Coast, we've established that our next killer would be Vecna. Vecna is just a perfect fit for Dead by Daylight. He's a lich,
I was hoping if
so
it was a
powerful
beholder, but we
wizard
take it.
That turned himself into undead to be able to continue his villainy. Is that even a word?
Villainy.
Sure. So he wanted to continue to do his horrible stuff for as long as he could. Vecna also has access to every spell in the books. So that was very interesting for us to create an interesting power. Of course, we also have a survivor in the chapter. So the Bard. A very interesting class. There's many classes that we could have chosen from, but the Bard was really the one that fit the most into our horror setting.
What?
For example, when we think about a class like the Paladin, you think of the ability to turn the undead, magical sword, big plated armors, and all of this doesn't fit really well into the world of Dead by Daylight. The Bard with abilities like bardic inspiration, the ability to sing, to play musical instrument, to know
Okay,
lore,
we'll take it.
and even to insult the villain is just so on brand that it was a perfect fit. So
We'll
that's why
take
we
it.
chose the Bard.
Okay, I see the vision.
As you've seen in the image and the trailer, we're doing something special with the Survivor. It's akin to what we've done with Legion. So through the cosmetic customization, you'll be able to choose between two specific characters inside the same Survivor.
Oh,
You'll
so
have
it's
the choice between Ice
customizable.
Cream, a female elf, or Beramar, a human male.
Yeah, we're going with Elf gang.
Yeah.
Should have got a
It's
tiefling, but
interesting,
I was hoping
when
we
I
could have got a
younger,
tiefling.
playing
Well,
Dungeon
we take it.
Dragon, like in my friends group, the bard was not really a class that people tend to play.
True.
Compared especially to other class that you had. But throughout times, like there's been many change and iteration on the class, and has now become like such popular class to play. Really fun now, definitely, and has become.
I haven't played a bard
like
before.
an emblem to Dungeon and Dragon as much as a Red Dragon now.
Absolutely. Every party nowadays has a bard. And we've also seen a lot of bard love into other content that Dungeon and Dragon produce, like the movie, for example.
Yeah. So we have an undead wizard. We have a troubadour. Do we have a new map?
Absolutely. We're super proud to have a full chapter for the anniversary.
Bro,
And
please.
shocking
For the
no
love
one,
of, please.
the map is a dungeon. Absolutely. So in the
I was
Borgo
hoping it was
realm,
like-
we have a new map with a new building. So there is a top part set in
It's a
the
solar eclipse
marvelous
too?
new lighting of the Borgo realm. And you can find this isolated tower in the middle. You can go inside and go into an extensive dungeon underground packed with surprises and Easter egg related to Dungeons and Dragons. The goal with this map is that we've imagined that Vecna, knowing about different realms and plane, now trapped into the realm of the entity, would find a place to make his own, to make his home, his lair, and so that he can study where he is, the world, the entity, and potentially find a way to escape, maybe not. We are also introducing a new gameplay mechanic in this map called Passage. So these are basically doors, magical doors, which you can use to teleport from one area to the map to the next. And we think it's going to add a new interesting spice to
I think I broke my
cases.
keyboard, y'all.
The map, the Easter egg. It's super fun. Like if you're a fan of Dungeon and Dragon, just exploring, you're gonna be thrilled to see all
Ooh,
the
I
small
can't
and
wait.
the big one. On the gameplay side now for Vecna, so the way we tackle or approach the killer this time, interestingly, it comes from a game, so he has game mechanic that are pre-existent. So we look at all like stats block and try to come up with like the best spell that could be translated into game mechanic for us.
Resurrection?
And also make sure that these will be like thrilling and exciting to use. But then, so definitely he's a spellcaster, a very powerful one. So the goal was to make him feel as such in our game. But like I was saying, magic, it's something that we have never really tackled, not that way before. Something we've tried to stay away from. Like our powers are really visceral or like grounded as much as possible.
Stay
Something
away from
that,
magic. Pinhead
you
is
want
in
to
the
talk
game.
about a bit magic.
Yes, please. I hope some of our team colleagues are laughing right now. I kind of have a bad rep internally about magic. It's almost a taboo word that we can't use. But now making a D&D chapter, for sure we had to embrace magic. And of course there is a space for magic in our games, but it has to be taken with the right tone. So in this case, we're talking necromancy, blood magic, magic of the dead. And there's a touch of realism and visceralness that we wanted to add to magic versus something more flashy like a magic projectile or a fireball, for example. There's also something quite interesting out of Dungeons and Dragons, and these are the utility spells. They're spells that are not used to kill or damage, but they're used in very creative ways. And we wanted to highlight that with the Lich, with Vecna. So that was our approach. Now, do you want to talk to us about the spell that we actually chosen?
Sure. So you
Please.
have access to 4 different type of spell. Pretty much any.
I hope there's a
anytime
dragon
they
somewhere on the
have
map,
their
bro.
own individual cooldown. But so the first one is called Fly, a very popular, well-known Dungeons and Dragons spell in our game. It lifts up the killer, and you're pushed forward. Obviously faster, so it's really like the traversal aspect of the power. It lasts for a short amount of time, and it's gonna also end if you vault a pallet or a vault location. And this is really useful to
So Vecna can
get,
vault pallets.
closer to Survivor,
Right.
and get to the next gen as soon as possible. The next one is called Flight of the Dam, which is, it's not really a Dungeon & Dragon spell. It's more connected to Vecna. It's actually an ability that he has. What it does is that it cast five different individual
This shit
projectile,
that literally
and
looks
then he
like
shoots them in a
like
cone,
artists.
radius effect in front of him. These projectiles pass through obstacles. They don't go very far, but if they hit the survivor, they get damaged instantly. It might sound very powerful and easy to use, but it's not the case. Survivor have a lot of counter, but the spell can also be used to zone in this aspect, so you can also go for the basic M1 attack during that time. The third spell is called Dispelling Sphere, which is actually, it's a combination of different existing Dungeons & Dragons spell. We just felt it was more compelling to combine them into one spell. So what it does, you cast a large sphere in front of you, and that sphere moves slowly throughout the level.
Wait a
Survivors do
second.
not see that sphere, and if they get in contact with that sphere, they get revealed for a few seconds by Killer Instinct.
Oh, I thought
and
it was
also have the
Odaluk's
magic
Zillion
items
Sphere.
visible for a minute. And the last but not least spell is Mage Hand. How you're going to improve as a killer is learning how to use them at the right time. And
That's
be efficient
Comcast,
with them.
man.
So lots of strategic and tactical choices here.
Correct.
So you've mentioned very quickly during the Dispel Sphere, the magical item.
Did I? Yeah.
What's that?
Okay. So this is the new toy for Survivor. It's called magic items, but keep in mind it's not an actual items that they use. So this time, if you face Vecna, you're gonna have Survivor gonna have 7 different chests that's gonna spawn throughout the level. Survivor go interact with those chests, and while during the opening of the chest, there's gonna be a D20 dice roll. Yes, it's Dungeons & Dragon. We couldn't do without the dice roll. So this dice roll will determine the content of the chest. So if Survivor roll from 2 to 4, they get a basic Dead by Daylight brown item. So
Better than nothing.
yeah, well, maybe that brown medkit might save your life. I don't know. But the fun part
Yes.
is when you roll from 5 to 19, that's when you get the magic items. And the way it works is that each survivor has an equipment slot, 2 equipment slot. They have the bracers and the boots. So there's 2 types of magic items, and each magic item is going to be randomly linked the first time you open the chest to one of the 4 Vecna spells. And so once they are equipped, each time the killer will cast the spell that is linked to one of your magic item, you're going to gain a passive bonus to help out, avoid the spell or help you out against Vecna in general. So to be more precise, so if you have bracers against the fly spell, you're going to see Vecna's aura during the traveling that while you use the spell. If you have
so they're like mini counters towards the spell.
Flight of the Dam, you see the aura of the projectile, very useful because the projectile goes through collision, and the best way to use that spell is through walls. If you have magic items against the Dispelling Sphere, survivors see the sphere, so they can juke and go around the sphere as much as they can. And if you have a counter against the Mage Hand, you see the aura of the hand on the palette, and also gain a little haste effect, so that help you out around the loop.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really important to search those chests.
Yeah, correct. Because the way that we tackled this, the balance in this case is that we made sure that the magic items do not trunker the killer's power. It's made or balanced to face survivor who have them equipped. So if you don't get those, definitely the killer might feel a bit oppressive. So it's really up to survivor to get to those chests and equip them as soon as possible.
Right. And just to be clear, you can also equip a normal item with that. So you can have your flashlight, bracer, and boots.
Correct. It's a very different slot.
So everybody heard you talk about a lot of numbers here on the dice, but you've not mentioned the critical fail, 1, and critical success on the 20. For people that don't play D&D, these are like events, the best event that can happen in Dungeons & Dragons when you get that critical fail or that critical success. So what happens in Dead by Daylight when that happens?
Yes, so we have critical roll in the game. If you roll
Critical
roll, you get, a big nothing. Although I've heard sometimes people get a green key. I guess
that's
lucky
that's
you.
better, yeah.
But I know what you get if you roll a 20. So anyone who's familiar with Vecna in the lore of Dungeons and Dragons, there are two very specific artifacts that exist that is called the Eye of Vecna and the Hand of Vecna, and we introduce them in our game. So you roll a 20, you get one of the two. You never know. But these works more like a normal item, so you have to pick them up and use them once. It's called attune, so you merge with the items, and then you unlock a very powerful ability up to like perk level.
Okay.
Yes, it's very strong. I guess you want to know.
But please do say.
Okay.
Oh, is that the one with the res one we were talking about?
With the Eye of Vecna, they use with lockers. So if you fast exit a locker, you're going to be unseen, unheard by the killer for 15 seconds. And on top of that, you gain a haste boost effect. And if you attune with the Hand of Vecna, you fast enter a locker and you're going to be teleported further down further locker.
Wow.
So very powerful. I forgot a little details because they might sound super strong said like that, but they come with a cost. So to use them, you have to be full health. And once you use them, you instantly lose a health state. And also at the end of the effect, you get revealed by Killer Instinct. So be very mindful the way you use them, because we've seen a lot of situations where it backfires at the survivor. And the killer has definitely a spell to help him out, get back at the survivor, and get the down.
So it's very on brand with what a cursed item should be.
Indeed.
Well, thank you so much, Yannick. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff coming with Vecna, and we had no time today to talk about anything more about the killer perks or the survivor.
We'll see
but
that
I have
on
to say
PTB.
very quickly that the survivor perk will allow you to create illusions, to perform on the lute. You can even perform with other survivors to do the full melody. There's also a dice roll mechanic for one of the perk. So if you want more information after the show, you can go on our website, deadbydaylight.com, and get all of the details you need. Merci encore, Yannick, for all the information. And thank you so much to all of you. Happy anniversary. And I'll be passing it back to Eric and Dork.
All right. That's probably going to be the video, because this shit going on an hour. Overall, he seemed kind of cool. So I thought he was going to have something with his skeletons. Maybe that'll just be his Mori or something. Overall, I'm quite excited. I want to see how he plays. Hopefully he's not like annoying anti-loop. He don't seem like it from what we saw. Overall, I'm pretty excited, especially since I'm about to get to the Vecna situation in Critical Role. It's about to be fire. And I'm about to wrap up Baldur's Gate 2.
Oh my god.